Okay, I'm gonna start over. This is Holly Thompson,
Very
Chief Sales and Marketing Officer at Steiner Lab, PhytoQuant USA, and also a certified health coach and author. And this is our very first webinar, as you might notice. So we're thrilled to have you here today. We appreciate you taking the time out of your valuable day to learn about topics that will hopefully help support you and your clients. This is the first in our series, as I mentioned, that we're going to be bringing you from Steiner Labs PhytoQuant, and we'll be covering topics related to micronutrition, gut health, immunity, and more. We'll be featuring hopefully many PhytoQuant practitioners and other prominent industry executives throughout the rest of 2020 into 2021. So welcome to you. We want to just add that we are located outside of Washington, D.C., and we have a lot of storms circling around us. So we, wish us luck. We hope for the best, but we're going to forge on ahead, and we're glad you're here. It's so appropriate that our very first webinar features Dr. Eric Steiner, who's here, you can see right here, our founder and CEO, and I'm so thrilled that Eric is here and to introduce him to you today. Eric's going to discuss gastrointestinal health and the challenges to keeping a healthy and balanced gastrointestinal tract. We'll get into the benefits today of some key nutritional supplements, some of which may surprise you, and also how to evaluate the many, many supplement options that are on the market today, and there are so many. And of course, we will be sure to touch just a little bit on the PhytoQuant products that we are so proud to be bringing to the United States. Be sure to stay till the end because we're allowing time for a few questions for Eric. So on that note, thanks so much for coming. We hope everybody is happy and healthy and well. And Eric, I'm going to turn this over to you.
Holly, thank you so much. It's really a pleasure for me. It's really thrilling to be here with Holly to be able to share this experience with you. I'd like to be a little bit more precise. I'm the founder of PhytoQuant USA. Nicola Frastenito, who's become a very good friend of mine, is the founder of PhytoQuant Monaco, the original company manufacturing and developing and distributing the products, all the supplements we're talking about. I'd like to maybe tell you about my background. I think that might help a little. I was trained as a medical doctor and just finished my residency when I realized that the medical field was not where I wanted to work. It was becoming very highly automated, very highly specialized, and I really didn't think I could add much. That's not where I could contribute the most. So I decided to go back to school, study again, got an MBA, and entered the business world. Ended up owning and running many companies, and the last one was a food company, and that's when my eyes opened to a huge problem. I really only had a cursory awareness of that before. It's the state of our food supply, not to mention processed foods, which were a catastrophe, which we all know. I mean, I hope everyone knows that. But it's really what's happening to the quality of our food. It's significantly changed, not a little, very significantly. And I began to realize that people were experiencing significant deficiencies in the nutritional value of their food, and it's impacting our overall health. I think that's the foundation of the supplement industry today, and it's very important. So it led me back to school once more, decided to go back, study micronutrition, where what my worst fear was confirmed. It solidified my understanding of the body as a system, where you can't look at one part, one symptom, one disease in isolation. We must address the whole in order to create vibrant health. So I'd say that the major issue we have today is metabolic health. It's something that's new, that didn't exist before, or it existed, but I would say we didn't know about it. And the best illustration of that is the obesity and pandemic we've been seeing for the past 35 years. when I say this to people, the first question that everyone says is, well, why is that? Unfortunately, I need to say we don't know. I don't have a strong, firm answer to that. But I do know there's some major culprits in this. Food processing, sugar being added to foods, diet evolution, microbiome changes, epigenetic changes due to our environment. And the common denominator here is food, more specifically micronutrients that are in our food. That compelled me to find a way to see how I could help. And I decided the best way to help people would be through practitioners to learn how to gain greater control over their own health and to address the deficiencies that themselves are driving a significant number of new health concerns. I founded Steiner Labs because I believe the most important thing we as a community can do is to help people become healthier. Individuals have the ability to improve their immune system, their metabolic basics, and their bodies, get their bodies in homeostasis, even with the two pandemics that we're living through.
Well, Eric, thank you so much for saying that, because you know I completely agree, and that's why I'm here with you today. So can you share with all of us and let everyone know why you chose PhytoQuant?
It's a very interesting and question. First of all, in French, I would say phytocan, and I'm partially French, so I often say phytocan. By in the US, we say phytoquant. It's two different pronunciations for the same word, and I apologize already if I switch between the two because I do it unconsciously. We chose phytoquant as our first supplement line because there are no other products on the market like them. Their name, first of all, highlights them of the key differences. Phyto from plants in nature, only natural products, or 99.9% natural products, plant-based. Quant representing quantum energy found in all living things. A very important part of Phytocan is the energy, the intention that's put into products. We believe in that so much. And supplements are an important component to maintaining optimal health, but the quality and the efficacy of these products is critical. Phytocan has over 16 years experience with practitioners. The company was started well before micronutrition supplementation became mainstream, and today they have over 5,000 practitioners only in France who believe in their product, recommend them every single day. But we can talk more about that later.
Nicola was definitely ahead of his time. So I know there's so much more to say on that topic, but I'd like to share a favorite quote of ours that, and we've even created a slide of it here. It's from Toxins from the Gut from the Integrative Medicine Clinicians Journal. Dr. Joseph Pizzorno stated, "The more research I study and the more patients I treat, the more clearly I am seeing that all of the fundamentals of health are now so undermined that only treating disease is no longer a viable strategy. In fact, I would assert that the foundations of health must first be reestablished before we can know if the patient's apparent disease is real or simply the body's best adaptation to their distorted environment."
Holly, this is very clear to me. We need to work to bring our clients to homeostasis in the gastrointestinal system before we begin to evaluate what other concerns need to be treated. That's really where it all starts. That's why we decided to start with the GI products first in a range of products before we start importing and developing other products. The body is a system. All the organs are interconnected, and more importantly, all of the cells are interconnected, whether they're our own or cells that live symbiotically within us. It's amazing that we have within us an entire living universe that's like another me, standing at the ready to help, constantly supporting us to keep everything operating smoothly. These symbiotic cells are called our microbiome. They need us as much as we need them in order to have a properly functioning operating system.
Well, so true, and I love this illustration, how it definitely illustrates that fact. Our cells are powerful, and if we provide them the right nutrients and the right environment, the body, in concert with the microbiome, can do the job nature intended to keep us stronger and healthier. So eating as cleanly as possible is important, and as a health coach, I know I spent years coaching clients and saying that food should be enough, right? But in our current environment, I just really believe it's not enough.
Holly, this is another thing, and you spent lots of time with your own clients trying to improve their eating habits, improving their eating habits significantly. At the end of the day, it's not enough, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
We need to remember is that our gastrointestinal tract, our GI tract, at a very high level, and in the future webinars, we'll get into much more detail and more scientific information, but at a high level, it performs three key roles. Number one, it's the way we absorb most of our micronutrients. And we need to absorb them because we're heterotrophs. We can't manufacture our nutrients. Only way we can get them is by absorbing them. Two, it functions as the most important barrier to the outside world. It's our biggest barrier, most important barrier, but at the same time, it's a very fragile barrier. And finally, three, I like to call this our second brain function. I mean, it'd be lying to say I'm the one who calls it second brain. There have been so many articles on that. Everyone does it. It's a function that's not well understood yet, but there are a few very important facts. The GI tract is a location of this very high number of neurons. Number one. Number two, it's connected directly to the brain through the largest nerve in the body. So we have a permanent link between the intestinal tract and the brain. And the link is through nerves, but it's also through chemical information. And we now know, even more importantly than that the microbiome communicates itself directly with the brain. It's been proven in the recent years. But we probably here have the first backbone for the whole system, brain and gut together, including microbiome. And as if all of these functions were not enough, it's also the location of about 80% of the immune system and the major center of the endocrine system, directly and indirectly. Holly, when we were looking at this, you showed me some very scary numbers. I know you want to share them with us, and I think it's important for all of us to understand this.
Yes, so we like our statistics at our company. And Eric, I know my background as a health coach, 74% of Americans live every day with gastrointestinal discomfort. I mean, it's just incredible to me. Apparently, over half of them have never even discussed it with their practitioner. And feeling poorly has become so normal for many people that they don't even think it's important. They don't understand that those symptoms can be precursors to much more serious conditions. So we also want to share that 63 million people in our country suffer from chronic constipation. That's a critical issue. A lack of motility can be a significant indicator that your system is not functioning properly. And non-foodborne gastroenteritis affects 135 million people at all times, with 20% of our population suffering from acid reflux at least once a week. So more statistics. As a nation, we spend $3.2 billion on over-the-counter drugs to self-medicate, and we average 41 million visits a year to doctors and hospitals for abdominal pain. This means our country's gastrointestinal health is in crisis, and this affects many other aspects of our health as well. It's critical for practitioners to ensure that when you're evaluating clients, that they are bringing these gastro issues to the surface in order to highlight prevention of those more serious conditions. As a society, we are programmed to wait until a symptom becomes intolerable, and then we want to be able to take a pill for immediate relief, right? But as a community, I'm really hoping that we can all work together to break that cycle.
Our health is a continuum. We don't just go from healthy to sick to dead. The symptoms you can identify with your clients are most likely just to be the tip of the iceberg. Gastrointestinal system or microbiome are the conspicuous place to address that continuum. You mentioned, Holly, that pills are not the only answer, and especially not for immediate relief. That's so true. And you say 74% of your clients, or of Americans, live with GI discomfort. This reminds me of a story that I never could forget. When I was finishing doing my residency, I was in the emergency room, and at 11 p.m., this person comes with abdominal pain. So I examine him right away. It could be urgent. We do all the tests, and we find absolutely nothing. Then I find out that he's had the pain for over 3 years, just never had the time to consult before now, 11 p.m., when my last patient had left at 10:45 p.m. and I finally had 10 minutes to go and grab a bite to eat. At the time, myself, the nurses, all the staff at the hospital, we just thought this was a huge waste of our time and the patient's time because there's nothing we could do. There's nothing we would do about it. Today, I would have looked at this situation very differently, and I think we all should look at it very differently. Abdominal pain is a sign of something. It's a precursor sign to another problem that could be much bigger. And we need to be paying significant attention to all these small details that are not so small. They're leading indicators for diseases ranging from autoimmune to eczema. That's why we start looking at the gastrointestinal tract and why it's so important, because it really is a leading indicator for how our health is. We all hope that just eating good, wholesome, fresh foods will provide us with everything we need. Many people don't believe they need micronutrition supplementation. I have many of my doctor friends who laugh at it and tell me, wait a second, Eric, what is this? But I tell you, my experience in the food industry showed me clearly that our food, our soil, our environment have been so altered, radically altered in the past decades. Some would say in the past century, in fact. But what was once true about just eating a wholesome diet, I believe is no longer the case. We unfortunately need supplementation.
Yes, well, the fruits and vegetables that you and I ate as kids contain more calcium, more phosphorus, iron, vitamin B2, and vitamin C than they do today. And scientists even believe that there are significant declines in levels of things like magnesium and zinc and vitamin B6, although no one was really documenting those vitamin minerals until recently.
Maybe the best evidence is that our nation's health is deteriorating. Autoimmune diseases, Alzheimer's, obesity, diabetes, many more are on the rise. For the first time, our life expectancy has actually decreased. I mean, that's very scary for me. And medicine is continuing to evolve, is getting better and better. But even with that, we still have life expectancy decreasing. So there's something else happening. And it's not the current studies that could show us what it is. We need to find out. I believe it's in our food supply, the deficiencies in micronutrients. 100 years ago, we didn't have these problems. When farming and the food industry became big business, the country's focus turned to developing crops that could grow bigger, more rapidly, have a longer shelf life. But nature won't be rushed, we all know that. Our fruits and vegetables are now significantly lacking in key nutrients. An example I love to give is to get the same amount of vitamin C you would have found in an apple in 1950, you'd need to eat about 100 apples today. I find that absolutely incredible.
That is incredible. It's unbelievable.
It is. I mean, excuse me. U.S. farming practices are not something we can easily control. Yet, you and I can control what we consume on a daily basis. We can help our clients control what they consume on a daily basis. And although today's fresh fruits, vegetables may not contain the nutrients they did in the past, they're still much healthier than eating highly processed foods. Ensuring that your client is eating properly is the obvious first step. But we also need to help them understand how to eat, how chewing is so important, how taking the time, how understanding their body, how then before we even supplement it. It's the 3 P's of medicine, we all know them, but participation of the client is very, very important. Stress is another factor that affects our nutrient requirements and intake. And given the current pandemic situation, stress levels are, at least mine are, significantly higher than ever before. When we feel threatened, our fight or flight response will shut down our digestion, restrict blood flow, slow contractions of the digestive muscles, decrease secretions needed for effective digestion. This is going to restrict our ability to absorb nutrients. It's really what we all know. And then our body will prioritize the functioning of heart, lungs, muscles, brain. And by definition, it's going to signal some of the nutrients or the minerals that we have to be redirected where they're needed, and increasing our need because we're not going to have them everywhere we need them. These large issues barely scratch the surface of where, why, and how depleted our cells are actually becoming. I would say our cells are the first to feel the effects of these various deficiencies. And we're learning more each day. Every single day, we're learning about the importance of the impact on cells of these deficiencies. The cells are often the first place to start looking. This is where we need to start orienting our work. We are also gaining a fuller comprehension of the chemistry and biochemistry of our microbiome and the importance of nurturing our cells and digestive health with nourishing foods and supplements. We are now enlightened in how and where micronutrients have an impact and therefore a beneficial effect. We have no choice but to supplement our diets. This is not a trend. Prenatal vitamins have been prescribed for years. Doctors are now prescribing probiotics for cesarean newborns to support patients with antibiotic treatments. We need to start doing it for prevention, everyday prevention. There are articles and TV segments every day that want to give you advice as to when, where, and why supplement.
So the question is, how do you begin to evaluate which supplements are required? Knowing that the gastrointestinal tract and the microbiome are often at the center of a wide variety of these conditions, we need to first address bringing the microbiome into balance. Almost all of us, especially in our country, in the United States, should be taking probiotics and prebiotics regularly. The use of antibiotics, NSAIDs, and other flora-depleting drugs has left many of us deficient in the good bacteria that we need to maintain that balance. So the potential benefits of probiotics and prebiotics have been seen in the treatment or prevention of many, many really horrible conditions. Here they are.
Wow, Holly, what a scary list. I remember you reading this list to me the first time.
Yeah.
Why I'd rather focus on prevention than having to treat or have anyone I know suffer from these diseases or any of my clients. But probiotics are one of the first supplements we should consider. I would say they're the basis of maintaining and helping our digestive tract. Modulation of the immune system may be one of the most important roles probiotics can play. It will have an effect on making sure that common cold doesn't keep us down, but it will help the whole GI tract absorb nutrients better. Probiotics will block pathogenic bacterial effects by producing bactericidal substances that will compete with pathogen toxins inside the tract.
So a Danish study in conjunction with the National Institute of Health's Human Microbiome Project determined that beneficial bacteria and probiotics interacting with immune cells results in a reduction of pro-inflammatory activity and an increase in anti-inflammatory action.
This is a vital response that's crucial to immune health. Taking care of your GI tract will also take care of your immune system. It will decrease your chance of catching colds or viruses, which in today's world is something that matters a lot. So what should you look for in the probiotic you recommend to your client? Not all probiotics are the same. Different strains of bacteria have different effects. For example, one strain may fight against cavity-causing organisms in our mouth and not need to survive a trip through the stomach. I think you need to look in probiotics at the quantity of bacteria. You need a significant quantity of bacteria. You also need to make sure that the blend is the right blend of probiotics. And I feel that one of the most important parts is a probiotic that contains prebiotics. That has been, for a long time, considered contra or against the logic of many people. But I believe, and I'm not the only one, more and more people are saying the same thing today. This is highly beneficial. It makes sure that the probiotics can proliferate within the gastrointestinal tract because they're being provided with a quote unquote food they need. And the worry about feeding the bad bacteria is really not a worry, because if you have the correct ratio, if you're doing the right things, your good bacteria will overcome the bad bacteria. Our body knows how to function better than we think it does. I also want to make sure that it doesn't contain no fillers, inert ingredients, to make sure you have as many probiotics as possible. And I would associate it with another product, chlorophyll, which is to help with the bad bacteria.
So recommendation number 2, chlorophyll, is a complementary supplement, as Eric just said, that works very well in synergy with probiotics. There are many sources of chlorophyll that go into supplements on the market, and many of them contain chlorophyll from wheatgrass. And while we all love wheatgrass for its many benefits, we at PhytoQuant, we're huge believers in chlorophyll from stinging nettle. Our preference is rooted in thousands of years of consistent use in many cultures around the globe. It has a great history. In ancient Egypt, chlorophyll was used, or stinging nettle chlorophyll was used for the relief of arthritis. Hippocrates and his followers reported 61 remedies utilizing stinging nettle. In the 2nd century, Galen, the Greek physician, recommended stinging nettle as a diuretic and a laxative, and for many other things in addition to that, like dog bites and gangrenous wounds, swelling, nosebleeds, etc. In the 16th century, herbalist John Gerard used stinging nettle as an antidote for poison, which we find very interesting given the amount of toxins in our environment today. In the 19th century, Phelps Brown hailed stinging nettle as a remedy for dysentery, hemorrhoids, bladder, and kidney stones. So although we can't say that we have modern science to have backed up all of these historical claims, chlorophyll has been used for thousands of years, and we are confident that it provides multiple benefits, and that any natural solution that can provide that amount of multiple benefits is definitely a bonus for everyone.
Holly, I would say that I would also add that more and more modern proof is coming out showing how it works. But what's mind-boggling to me is that for all these years, for hundreds of years, people have known how these products were so good, using them for wound healing, using them for cleansing action, even as a deodorant. Mind-boggling. But the most important activity of chlorophyll, what we're looking for it, is the antimicrobial activity. We're looking to detoxify the intestines, and to really help for the good bacteria to have more space to develop, to have more access to food, so they can really grow and restore the balance in our GI tract that we need. As a side benefit, I'd say chlorophyll also helps relieve constipation, and it's, if I remember your number, 63% of Americans suffer from it. It's a pretty scary number. So just that benefit alone is a great benefit. Again, it's very important to make sure that any chlorophyll supplement doesn't contain any unnecessary fillers. And I'd say that PhytoQuant's product has a benefit not only of not containing any fillers, but we actually grow the stinging nettle ourselves. I say ourselves, I mean my partners in Europe, PhytoQuant Monaco. But we grow the stinging nettle using biodynamic principles on their own farms within 18 miles of the facility, ensuring absolute freshness.
Thank you. So once we've addressed getting the microbiome back into balance, then we want to focus on rebuilding. And recommendation number 3 is L-glutamine. This is an underestimated and underutilized, really important foundational supplement. So Eric, can you tell us about L-glutamine?
Of course, Holly, and what you said, again, this goes to prevention. We want to rebuild, and this is what L-glutamine will help us do. Now, L-glutamine is a conditionally essential amino acid. It's key to building the protein structure of all cells, but among others, intestinal cells. By doing that, it shows significant improvements in the intestinal barrier, the direct effect on tight junctions. It improves tight junctions. And this improvement to the intestinal wall will help reduce transfer of bacteria and other foreign matters into the bloodstream. Second effect of L-glutamine, it improves the health of the GI tract by increasing energy production of enterocytes. The cells of the intestinal tract use L-glutamine as a main energy source. All cells use glutamine as an energy source, but in the intestinal tract, it's the main source for energy. It then helps the enterocytes absorb micronutrients that the body requires to perform at optimal level. I want to remind everyone that enterocytes renew on average every 36 hours. That's 50 billion cells that are dying every 36 hours in the GI tract, and 50 new billion cells being born every 36 hours. We need a lot of energy and building blocks for this. And finally, L-glutamine can be transformed into glutamate. And L-glutamate is one of the key building blocks of glutathione, which is a very powerful antioxidant. It's not the main source, but it's a great way to get some glutathione in some people, which will have a great effect in reducing free radicals at the cellular level.
So many of the L-glutamine products available in the market today are synthetic, I'm told.
Unfortunately, yes. We believe at Phytocon that it's very important to ensure that the L-glutamine you recommend to your clients is from a natural source of lactic ferments from non-GMO sources. I feel that synthetic products are not as active on the body, and therefore higher doses may be required to achieve the same results.
So the burning question on every practitioner's mind and on every customer's mind right now is, how do you know which supplements on the market are the right supplements? And given the thousands of options available today, most people are overwhelmed and confused. It can be really hard to figure out.
Holly, you and I have talked about this, and it's not easy to find the right supplement. I remember when we met the first time we were talking about it. So there are 5 issues which I believe are the critical issues to evaluate. I'd say the first one is, what are the supplements or the ingredients? Where are they manufactured? Number 2, does the company manufacture the products themselves? Many companies just assemble and distribute products. 3, do they have complete traceability on the source of their ingredients? 4, some ingredients were synthetic or the only practical way to produce. In those cases, where do the raw materials come from? Is the factory GMP? How pure is the product? And finally, 5, what process is being used for extraction? If alcohol or other chemicals are used to extract nutrients, then even natural ingredients can be sapped of their natural benefits. Even worse, studies have shown that alcohol extraction of some product, like grapefruit seed extract or desmodium, can introduce a level of toxicity in the finished products. I would say that Phytocon, we answer positive to all those 5 questions. It's not that I would say it, I know, I will affirm it. And the most important is question number 5. Our extraction technique is a unique extraction technique, very special, and that's how we get our products to be so much more potent than other products. Holly, there's another issue that you also know is very important, is pricing. Yes. Pricing is the key question for many. There doesn't seem to be a direct correlation between quality and pricing in the market. It's very scary. We know it's difficult to convince a client that buying cheap supplements in big box stores is not advisable. However, it's critical to note that high volume production supplements are most likely to be the ones that are made synthetically and or do not have complete traceability to the source. There are several studies showing that a significant number of these supplements do not contain in any measurable way active ingredients. Either they're at very small doses, or they've been denatured during their extraction or during transport or storage. Again, we put a lot of effort to make sure that that doesn't happen to our products. We believe that completely natural ingredients are more easily assimilated and have a higher efficacy because of that assimilation. Phytoquant does control our farm operations, using no pesticides, no fertilizers, and only activated spring water. At Phytoquant, we care about the whole environment around the growing, sourcing, manufacturing, storage, and handling of all of our products. We grow many of our own ingredients. For products we can't grow, there are long-established sources of supply. They are very credible suppliers that we inspect regularly. The quant in our name stands for quantum physics, as I said earlier. We recognize that energetics and intention are critical for producing products that are aligned with our bodies. This is why we are very careful during growing, extraction, manufacturing, storage, and transport to maintain the correct energy in our products along with the active ingredients. Our proprietary ultrasound extraction process takes into account that each type of plant is different, requiring a different frequency to ensure that we extract all of the ingredients, both in quality and in quantity. The life force contained within that plant is delivered in the final supplement to ensure maximum potency. We believe that supplements made with such care and attention to detail for over 16 years, coupled with the support of a professional who can target the right supplement for your symptoms and overall well-being, is a winning combination.
Well, thank you so much for saying all of that. So to summarize, the gastrointestinal system is a key component to overall wellness. There are millions of people struggling with symptoms that could be the precursors to larger problems. And supplementation is a key component to supporting the body and cells to be able to function in the way in which they were intended.
I'd like to close by saying we're passionate about wanting to help practitioners to change the face of health in our society. We know that the more people we can reach and the more people we can teach, the more we can empower people to take an active role in their health and to change our culture to a culture of prevention instead of symptom treatment and the treatment of diseases that may have been avoided if early symptoms were seen for what they are, indicators of potentially more serious conditions developing. In future conferences, we'll be talking about in more detail, maintaining integrity of the intestinal wall, microbiome, mucus, immunity, digestion issues, how digestion works, and we'll finish by trying to address what the second brain means.
So, Eric, thank you so much for that. It was really interesting, and thanks for letting me join you. If you are here with us right now and you are a wellness practitioner and would like to learn more about working with us with Phytoquant supplements and its many more advantages than you heard today for your clients and also for you, please reach out to us. In our next webinar, we're going to be exploring the gastrointestinal tract and the microbiome functions and their impact on disease and chronic illness. So we'll be bringing you experts in their fields. We want you to subscribe to our emails, stay in touch with us, and we don't want you to miss out. Thank you so much for being here.
More specifically, in future conferences, I'm sure you'll be able to get a glimpse of Phytoquant Monaco, meet the pharmacists over there, their biologists, the whole team, not just us.
Yeah.
I want to thank all of you for taking the time to be with us here today. It really means a lot to us. Please don't hesitate to call us, email us. I think you all have Holly's email. Don't hesitate to ask us any questions you might want to ask either to Holly or to I or to anyone else in the company. In the meantime, I do want to open this to some questions that you might have today. Holly, I'll let you take it.
Yeah, so great. Thank you guys so much. So we have our first question is from Anne for you, Eric. It says, I looked at your website. Thank you. I noticed that your probiotic contains coriander. What does that do? Why is that there?
When you give prebiotics along with their probiotics, you're going to feed some of the bacteria and some fermentation, and you're going to have some gases and therefore bloating. The coriander is there to help alleviate all the bloating you might have. Therefore, secondary pain that might come or the discomfort.
Okay. Robin asks, on the subject of probiotics, again, do you think we should be taking probiotics every day all year? I have heard different advice on this.
I believe that probiotics is really the basis of any intestinal tract prevention. I would have no issue with taking it all year. I personally recommend taking it for about 4 or 5 months, then a 1 or 2 months break, just to give your body the time to work for itself, not just help it every single second of the day. You know, create a little stress there. It can always be some healthy stress. So I personally, my recommendation is to have aggressive treatment, 2 pills a day every morning for about 30 days and bring it down to only 1 pill a day for 4 or 5 months, break for 1 or 2 months, and then start again, the same cycle again.
Okay, thanks. We have a question from Liz. Liz asks, are your supplement formulation, do they use ingredients other than the plants grown on your farms? And if so, where are those ingredients sourced from?
We'd love for all the plants to be grown on our farm. We try to. Unfortunately, we can't. Some plants you just cannot grow in Italy. Desmodium, for example, comes from Africa, only grows in the tropics, so we don't grow that. Turmeric is another example where you can't grow it in Italy. However, for all these plants that we don't do, we have sources that we've been working for the last at least 15, 20 years, more in some cases, a little less in some other cases, but very reliable sources. And we inspect all their products. We make sure that they're grown following our guidelines and our needs.
Okay, great. And Eric, I have one last question from Brad asking, what is your L-glutamine made from?
Our L-glutamine L-glutamine comes from non-GMO corn.
Because it's made in Europe, and we hope it still can be non-GMO corn. We're not confident about that in the US.
You know, I used to say that non-GMO corn, non-GMO soy did not exist. That's about 5, 10 years ago. I would say, no, it just doesn't exist. It's, you know, you go to Brazil where a lot of the soy comes from. Supposedly there's some non-GMO. It's all contaminated. In the last 5 to 10 years, some farmers have been able to develop non-GMO corn, non-GMO soy, which is what I would recommend to everyone.
Yeah.
But I think no one needs to hear that from me. I think everyone would agree, knows that even before I even say it.
Agreed. Okay, and let me just see. I think it looks like that is it for today. Eric, unless you have anything else you'd like to leave us with?
Again, no, I'd like to thank everyone for being here. As I said, we'll have more information in the future webinars we're going to do. This is our first one, so we're launching and we're being maybe a little trying to explore what the best way, what kind of questions we might have from people. So we really would appreciate you reaching back to us with what questions, what you expect from us, what you don't want us to do. We're starting with the GI tract because that's the basis of good health, but our products go way beyond that. We take care of the whole body. We have an amazing omega-3, for example, that I'd love to talk to you about in a future webinar. So please follow us and don't hesitate to call us. Thank you very much.
Thank you everybody for coming, and we managed to make it without a thunderstorm.
That's good. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.